Greetings from CNS and welcome to this special episode of NTB Dialogues, a special interview series which features insightful and thought-provoking conversations with leaders to accelerate progress towards ending tuberculosis. This series underpins the urgency to step up the fight against this epidemic because we have only 135 months left to achieve the global target of ending TB by 2030, as has been promised by 193 countries. India's Prime Minister has expressed the commitment of ending tuberculosis by 2025, which is 5 years ahead of the global target. So we in India have just 75 months left to achieve that target. The latest WHO Global TB report presents, well, not a very bright picture and says that we are not on track of achieving the targets, not on track of even achieving the 2020 targets of the NTB strategy. So we need new and fresh thinking to reimagine every critical cog in the wheel to end TB and also to accelerate progress in achieving the sustainable development goals. Today we are in conversation with a special guest, Urvashi Prasad, who is a public policy specialist at the Niti Aayog, the National Institution for Transforming India, which is a policy think tank of the Indian government to foster the state's involvement in the economic policy making processes. Urvashi is also part of the task force which is overseeing the implementation of the Sustainable Development Goals in India. Welcome, Urvashi, to our show. Urvashi, your focus is on health, nutrition, sanitation, and gender. And all these sectors are really important when we talk of TB control. So, how do these sectors intertwine and interconnect with care of TB, with the TB care and control, including latent TB?
Right. No, you're absolutely right. In fact, in a lot of the national programs and policies now, we are trying to see how we can converge different sectors, because historically this has been a big challenge for us. Nutrition, if we see, the Poshan Abhiyan, for instance, which has been launched by the government, is trying to bring together different ministries, whether it's health, whether it's gender, whether it's sanitation, because eventually everything impacts outcomes in nutrition. And nutrition, as we know, is also very closely linked to TB. Both, as a sort of reason why people get TB if they are undernourished, as well as, they are much less able to cope with treatment if they are undernourished. So I think the idea is to, in all our initiatives, similarly under Ayushman Bharat, we have the health and wellness centers, which are now being set up. And again, the idea is that we look at health in a very holistic way, instead of looking at it in silos. And unfortunately, we've had a very fragmented structure historically. We have different ministries that look at these areas. So that sort of real coordination and collaboration has been very tough. But some of these new policies and programs, the intent is that we bring these sectors together and not keep working, in silos, because as you rightly said, the targets are very ambitious and we will not reach these unless we are able to tap all the different sectors. So at a very high level, that is sort of the thinking right now. And of course, our idea is to now implement these programs well on the ground.
Okay, so multi-sectoral approach
That's
again
right.
is very
That's
important. And talking of nutrition, India also ranks very low in the Global Hunger Index, the
Right.
report which was out recently.
Right.
So, despite so many of government schemes which are promoting good nutrition, why are we failing? What are the challenges you think? are
Yeah,
there?
so specifically on the Global Hunger Index, I think there, of course, I would go more on the scores rather than our ranking per se, because actually the index itself has changed its methodology, and initially they left a lot of countries out of the ranking in the first few years, which they've now included. So
Right.
that sort of reflects poorly in our rankings. But it definitely, whatever the rank might be, the fact that nutrition has been a big challenge and remains one, there is no dispute on that. And this is where there was an acute recognition of it when the Prime Minister launched the the Poshan Abhiyan. Also, we've recently had a comprehensive national nutrition survey that has been released, which actually looks at progress in nutrition between 2016 and 2018. And some of the data we've got there is fairly heartening. We've sort of doubled the rate of decline in stunting and some other indicators like that. So I think there's definitely a huge recognition that we need to do a lot on this front. And B, there has been some positive progress that we can see in the last few years, but there's no doubt that we have a very long way to go. And we will only get there if we really implement Poshan Abhiyan across all ministries, across all states very effectively, but also make it a people's movement. Because at the end of the day, whether it's nutrition, whether it's health, just the government cannot play a role. People themselves have to also play their part, and so I think the whole concept of making it a Jan Andolan, which is something the Prime Minister also talks about, is I think a really important one, because once people say that this is a big issue for us and we need to do something, it will also put pressure on the government services to deliver. So I think while we do need to really strengthen our supply side, we also need to create demand for a lot of these services from people.
How is the Niti Aayog helping in accelerating progress towards controlling TB, and again, as I mentioned earlier, latent TB as well?
Right. So Niti Aayog, of course, we work very closely with the ministry at the center, but we also work a lot with states. Because that's really where the implementation happens, the challenges sort of come into effect. So we work at both these levels, and in terms of focus areas, I think right now, one, as you very rightly said, we're still missing a lot of TB cases from the system, and I think the recent sort of report also shows that we are still missing, even though we have improved on that front, but we're still missing a fairly large number of cases. So through active case finding, through better notifications from the private sector, and I think this is where there's been some good news. We've had over the previous year, we've had about a 40% increase in notifications from the private sector. Now, of course, as a percentage of the total, it's still only about 25%. So again, there's a lot we need to do. But the fact that that's going up is one very good step, because as we know, a lot of our patients do end up in the private sector, and often the private sector are very smaller, even single doctor clinics. These might not be your large organized hospitals. So of course, getting data from these is tough. But as we try and get more private providers into the network, this is something that should keep improving, including, of course, very key stakeholders like chemists, because often for people, their local chemist is really the first port of call, for any issues that they are facing. So I think that's one big area of focus right now. The other is on looking at some of the comorbidities, because TB is something that we in fact recently I was reading something that the TB HIV cases is something that we really need to watch out for. HIV by itself, we've done a reasonable job of sort of keeping under control in India, but the TB HIV comorbidity is a big challenge. So is TB diabetes. We anyway know the diabetes burden is really going up in the country, and in fact the sort of the third one, which I think sometimes perhaps we don't give enough attention to, is TB and depression, because we are finding that comorbidity as well. So I think we need at least basic screening systems at the community level, and this is where I feel the health and wellness centers can play a big role, because we're supposed to have one such center for every 5,000 population, and have somebody from the community, who's trained as sort of a mid-level provider to run these centers. So they are very well positioned to at least do a basic screening for these conditions, and then of course refer, should they feel the need to do that. So I think that's the second very big area we do need to look at. The third is of course still the awareness and the stigma part. And I think here, while large-scale campaigns do help, we need to also go much more local, whether it's through community radios, whether it's through street plays, whatever it is that people identify with, and the language they identify with. That is, what we need to use to communicate these messages, because I think the stigma is still huge, and especially when it comes to women and TB. So this is where gender also comes in. The stigma almost becomes much worse. So I think till we also address that, again, just the government improving its performance, or even the private sector doing more, will not help if we don't get this community part to fall in place. And the last bit, sort of the fourth bit really on this, is ramping up our investments in R&D, because that's something we cannot forget. While it is a slightly perhaps longer term thing, but we do still need better drugs. We need drugs with shorter sort of time frames. We need more oral regimens rather than injectables, and we also need better diagnostics which are suited to our local conditions. A health and wellness center in a tribal area should be able to use this diagnostic. So it really needs to be customized to our context, and of course affordable. So I think there, of course, there's a role for the private sector too, to ramp up investments in R&D in this space, because I think there's a huge market opportunity, even for the private sector. And of course, from the government's perspective, it's a huge public health concern, and if we have to meet these targets, we have to do that. So I think these are 4 areas that we are at least really trying to push on the policy side, and also on the implementation side with states, to see how we can perform better in each of these. Because if we want to achieve this very ambitious goal, we'll have to really perform exceedingly well in all these areas.
You're very right, and where you insisted on local action, which is really
Right.
important to achieve any goal, because
Right.
action is there on the ground.
Absolutely,
So
absolutely.
that is
Yeah.
very true. And you're talking of wellness centers, and then that brings us to the point, to the question that it's not only it's important to treat TB.
Yeah.
At the same time, it's equally important to ensure that we don't have new infections, because it's not just about medical treatment of
Absolutely.
TB, but
Absolutely.
ensuring that those with what we call latent TB infection, they
Right.
don't develop into the
Right.
active disease.
Right.
So I think Niti Aayog, since you're talking of wellness centers,
That's right.
it can play a big role
Absolutely.
to empty that pool of latent TB.
New infections.
New
absolutely.
infections,
Yeah.
because unless we control that, so it's not
Absolutely.
just about diagnosing and TB, but controlling new
Absolutely, yeah,
infections.
and I think that's why we have to look at the whole cycle, right from prevention being our most important one, and I think this is where the the
Yes.
whole concept of the wellness centers and moving it from only reproductive maternal child health, because we've had primary health for 70 years,
Yeah, right, right,
but
right,
a lot of
right.
those centers have focused on reproductive maternal child health, and we've had challenges in delivery. We've had cases where people are saying doctors are not coming, we're not getting the kind of services, so we've seen people moving to the private sector, which often is sort of unorganized as well. It's not necessarily the big private hospitals, right? Those are very few and in large urban centers, so people are actually moving often to even informal providers or others, in the absence of having faith in the government primary health system, really. So I think there's a lot for us to sort of overcome that, but that is the sort of key intent, and that is why in Ayushman Bharat, while a lot of people sort of commonly talk about the insurance part, we make sure that we are also focusing, in fact perhaps focusing more on this comprehensive primary healthcare part, because prevention is a very big part of that, and TB prevention, of course, is a very big issue there, and I think that is where also nutrition becomes so important.
Yes.
That people are strong enough to resist developing these infections or resist catching it from others. So I think here the whole concept that we will have mid-level providers instead of doctors, because A, we still have a shortage of doctors, and B, you don't need doctors to perform every function. There are a lot of basic community functions which can be performed by other cadres. If we look at countries like Thailand or other countries that have done well, they've really used other cadres of health professionals very well. So I think that's something we need to develop, and this is where this whole concept of that mid-level provider came, because it could be somebody from the local community who people trust.
Yes.
Because I think eventually for prevention and screening, trust is a big factor. I'm much more likely to listen to somebody I trust,
Yes.
as opposed to someone coming in from the outside and saying this is good for me or I should do this. So I think that itself would bring a big change in terms of how these centers are conceptualized, and we want to make them very aspirational. So if you'll see the design of some of these centers, we're trying to make it much more attractive, much more appealing, because we don't want people to think that it's only a place they come when they're sick.
Yes.
But we want people to come for prevention also. We want people to come there to stay well. And that's really the whole concept of wellness. So I think, yes, this will take time to sort of impact outcomes on the ground. But the thinking is very much this, that it cannot always be damage control, as you
Yes.
say, that just manage the existing
Yes,
infections
right.
better. But we actually need to prevent new infections. Otherwise, in such a large country, we'll always be playing this catch-up game.
Right.
So yes, completely agree on that.
And
Yeah.
you're very right, particularly in the case of latent TB, when you're saying that that health seeking behavior of people, that has to change in the sense that I'm seemingly healthy, but still I need to maybe take preventive medication because I'm at high risk, because even the global TB report says at least the highest risk factor for TB is undernutrition in India. It is listed as the highest risk factor. So that may be difficult again in the case of latent TB, I feel, because you are trying to treat people, giving preventive therapy to treat people who say they are healthy. There is no symptom of TB. So would you suggest that we need to have a test and treat policy for latent TB infection, because some of the guidelines say that in certain groups of people, even in children under 5 years of age, you don't have to test them for latent TB, just treat them. But for the general population, do you think there should be more test and treat, like test for latent TB? And of course, first rule out active TB in them, and then test for latent TB.
I think, we at a large scale we do need, as I said, it could be called a screening sort of mechanism or something, because as you said, undernourishment. And if you look at women and anemia, for instance, we still have 1 in 2 women in sort of the reproductive age group who are suffering from anemia. So these are big numbers, and all of this is obviously making our population very prone to developing conditions like TB. So we will, yes, have to think of, I think, some much larger scale, and this is where I feel that a system like the Health and Wellness Center can really play a big part, because we're supposed to have one such center at every 5,000 population eventually, and so they will really be able to, in a small catchment area, effectively reach out to people and at least do some basic screening, even if it's not the most sophisticated test at that level, because it might not be, possible to do it at that kind of scale or in a cost effective manner, but at least a basic screening test which sort of alerts the system that this person could have some issue, and then of course they can always be referred, and something more advanced can be done, but I think that is really necessary, and this is where I feel that the comorbidities can also come out through this. We also do these kind of basic tests for diabetes, we do for in fact, I at one point when I was working in a tuberculosis control organization, we were looking at a very simple questionnaire that can be administered by community health workers for depression, for testing for depression in TB patients. So because we can't have a psychiatrist everywhere, we know that we're hugely short of doctors, specialists, and it's not even feasible in a country of our scale. But we can certainly do some basic screening at every level, and especially the most sort of the lowest ground level, because that's when we'll get a real sense of how much of the problem exists. So I think that I do believe is a very critical, in fact perhaps one of the most critical, alongside prevention, of course, and trying to really improve people's nutritional status. Alongside that, I think doing these basic screenings at the community level, and just training local people and local cadres to do it, I think that's a very, very critical step. So hopefully through these health and wellness centers, we'll see some of these things coming in, because it's very much conceptualized that way, but as we know, the devil is always in the implementation. So we really need to make sure we do a good job of that. But yes, I think the thinking is very much along those lines.
So have any of these centers come up, or they are still in the
so we have about 20,000 such centers now across the country that are operational, and about another 20,000 are sort of under the process of being upgraded. So that is sort of the current status roughly. We have in fact a dashboard which is there, which is sort of tracking all of this as well. So the idea, of course, is, again, it's an ambitious target. We are supposed to set up 150,000 of these by 2022. So again, it's a fairly ambitious target there. Of course, a lot of these are not new constructions, because we realize that sometimes in health or other areas you can just fall into the trap of a new building, but not really providing the essential services. So a lot of these are upgrading some of the existing centers, because we have an existing huge network of sub-centers, PHCs, but they certainly need to be upgraded to become this sort of health and wellness center. As I said, we're trying to even design these in a much more aspirational way, apart from, of course, changing the whole human resource management and all of that. So yes, yes, so these are already in existence, and we are in fact, at Niti Aayog we are trying to really sort of look at evaluating how they are doing, because again, as I said, we can set up as many as we like, but till we make sure that those services are being delivered, we can't be saying we've done a good job. So that's really where the whole focus is. That make sure that even if the numbers are not scaling up that rapidly, but each center that we have should truly provide what it says it will provide. And I think that is the quality aspect is I think where we're really focusing on at this point. In fact, in these centers we're also talking a lot about the Ayush part, which I think links a lot with wellness. Whether it's yoga, whether it's because somewhere I think we've forgotten our traditional good practices as well, which really help with good living and well-being. So I think we're also trying to bring in that of course we must have modern medicine, but what can we use from some of our traditional systems or alternative systems to again keep people healthy. The objective, I think, and this is something that I believe in, and we're also trying to stress through policies, has to be to reorient the whole health system from hospitals and cure to keeping people healthy and keeping people out of hospitals. We cannot sort of pride ourselves in saying that we treated so many people. I think it has to be more that we kept so many people healthy,
prevented them from
absolutely
right. And then as Niti Aayog is actually involving the states, it is bringing the states together at the policy making table. So I think it would be, of course, you must be seeing some states are doing much better, performing better than the others. So it would be good to have the best practice examples that this is the state which is doing so well, others can follow, because if one can do it, so can the other.
Absolutely, yeah. So in fact, we also, you might have heard, have this aspirational districts program where the government's picked up 112 or so the most sort of underdeveloped districts in the country, and even there what we're doing very consciously is to document good practices, because even in some of our most challenging districts, we often see some good practices emerging. And I think often the temptation is to look outside the country to find a good practice, but actually a lot of it exists in the country. It's just that as you say, it's hard to find it in one place, or hard for people to replicate, because what might be happening in Tamil Nadu might not be obvious to someone in Bihar, and vice versa. So yes, a big part of what we also try and do is sort of build a repository of these good practices across different sectors. So of course in aspirational districts we've got 5 or 6 different sectors we're looking at, and health and nutrition is one of those. And so we also have specific good practices in those areas, and of course that also includes TB, it also includes a lot of other health conditions, and also nutrition. So yes, I think that's a big part of the role we are trying to play, is sort of be that one point where we can sort of collect good practices and also disseminate them. And of course a big part of that is also engaging with civil society, engaging with other sort of stakeholders, and we're in fact working on a vision document now at Niti Aayog, which is more sort of a long-term vision. It's like a 15-year vision, and we're actually trying to engage a lot of different stakeholders, a lot of different experts to say that what are some of the best things we should be doing, and bringing into our policies and bringing into our implementation. So I think yes, in fact I think that's sort of in the design of Niti, and that's sort of a big shift from the sort of the erstwhile Planning Commission, that it's not just about money. In fact, money is not the biggest sort of instrument that we have to use now, but it's more the knowledge, the know-how, the good practices. So yes, I think that is definitely something that we're very much focused on.
Urvashi, with the Union World Conference on Lung Health just a week away, and of course very few years left, say our aim is to end TB by 2025 in India. Would you suggest one out-of-the-box approach which you think needs to be done to just accelerate this fight against TB?
Yeah.
Anything which according to you is very important?
Yeah. Yeah, I think, for me, the social part, the community part is always, I think it sort of comes along with the supply side usually, but for me that's one standout aspect, because it's not just TB. I think in a lot of areas where we see health systems doing well, the community has a big role to play. So, like I visited certain communities in Kerala, and I asked them, I said, have your primary health centers always functioned so well? After all, human beings are the same everywhere, right? So if other places, the PHCs, doctors are not showing up, what's different here? And the women said, we just literally make their life hell if they don't show up. You know, we sort of lodge a huge protest. They're very united, and we demand the service. You know, so I think even in TB, we need to reach this level where instead of people feeling this stigma, feeling a hesitation, almost being ashamed sometimes about it, people actually say, yes, I do have this issue, or I suspect that somebody in my family might have it. Now you have to provide me this service. So I would really focus on this one element, I think, if I had to pick out of all the elements, because if we put pressure as people, you know, whether it is our elected representatives, whether it's our government, whether it's our private sector, everyone will be forced to respond if we are the ones demanding the services. If we are passive, I think everything, you know, will not quite reach the level it should. So I would really go very strong on the community front, use all sorts of innovative approaches there. I mean, in other health programs, we used to do things like street plays very effectively. We engaged school children. You know, we reached out to women through self-help groups. I think there's a whole host of strategies there, but we need to bring it together and say, we are going to get people to demand that TB is something that must go away. You know, from our country, it's an absolute shame that, you know, we still have this high burden, and we want to change this. And, you know, we as people want to change it. I think then everybody else will have to somewhere fall in line. So this is something that I at least feel we have to push for very passionately and very strongly.
And good, Urvashi, you brought up the example of Kerala, because that is one state which is performing very well also on the TB control front.
That's
and
right.
and they have been doing it since
right.
quite some time. And also, I think what you said earlier about the multi-sectoral approach, because they have intertwined it with other processes and
Absolutely.
schemes. So
Absolutely.
I think that is a very good example you took, and if Kerala can do it, so can
Absolutely.
Absolutely.
Yes, why
yes,
not?
yes,
Yeah,
that's
yeah.
true. Well, thank you, Urvashi. Friends, you were listening to Urvashi Prasad, a public policy specialist at Niti Aayog India, in today's episode of the NTB Dialogue series of CNS. Thank you very much.
Thank you.